Okay, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the second From Lab to Market event, organized by Aalto Ventures Program, Aalto University, VTT Launchpad, VTT, Aalto Startup Center, and Aalto Innovation Services. My name is Reetta Kivelä, and I'll be your host today. I'm from Aalto Ventures Program, helping you to learn to build like an entrepreneur. Before moving to our three amazing speakers of today, I would like to go through a few practicalities. So if you want to network or you have a specific need, do please introduce yourself in a chat and feel free to ask. Also, if you'd like to ask questions from speakers, you can add those questions in a Q&A section, and after the speakers, we will have a Q&A panel where your questions and the questions you have voted will be asked. After this Q&A panel, there will be opportunities in the ecosystem, a short information, and after this, you will be moved automatically to the conference space for possibility for networking. Our event coordinator, Ville, is also answering if there's any technical questions during the event. Without further ado, I'd like to call on stage Aki Soudunsaari, who is a founder or co-founder of Naava, and to which he has been also acting as a CEO. So Aki, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Ilya. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to be here speaking about things that I'm passionate about. I will continue this stuff by sharing my screen here, and I have a couple of things on a presentation mode. I think you're able to see the screen. Please comment, Ilya.
Yes.
I'm not able to see you anymore. Thank you. So my personal mission in this life is to improve people's health, happiness, learning, and performance. And everything kind of I've done, whether it's studies or the kind of work years that I've put behind me, are somehow related to that. And my topic for today is the kind of intersection between academia, science, and entrepreneurship. Kind of the learnings from the past 10 years, and I'm looking at this from the kind of case Naava point of view. My background briefly, I feel that I might have something to say about this kind of topic because I have a multidisciplinary background and I've founded 3 companies, so kind of somehow relevant to the topic. I've originally graduated from sports and health sciences as a teacher, then further studied in the educational leadership programs and so on. I have also a master's in entrepreneurship, which I will share some thoughts later on, and then kind of in the middle of work in progress PhD in building winning venture teams in economics. I worked in 5 different faculties during my short academia, 3 or 4 years in academia, and then later on, I've mentored, I think, over 100 different companies, startups mainly, in reaching their goals and kind of getting there to the next stage, always there. And before kind of driving into the learnings, I want to briefly share the kind of the Naava story, because like with many entrepreneurs, the best way to start or understand the end customers is to solve your own problem. So over my kind of childhood years and studies that I've done, I've became like oversensitive to different chemicals in the built environment. So I have had problems with indoor air, and my kind of body has evolved in a way that there's a lot of alarms and signaling systems that make me aware of indoor air quality really easily. And before finishing my sports and health studies, I was teaching 1 year in a school in the middle of Finland, where they had like a newly built school with a lot of problems regarding air. So there was a lot of off-gassing chemicals that then caused me, I broke my voice a lot, or my voice broke down a lot. I had like repeatable sinus infections and so on, those kind of mild symptoms. But then after a few months, I became like severely ill. I had cognitive problems. I didn't remember people's names, no voice coming out of my throat, and so on. And back then I was teaching half of my time outdoors, physical education, and half of my time indoors, health sciences. And I had like a class from 1 to 2 in the built environment. I felt really bad. I felt really lousy. And then after spending 5 minutes outdoors, I didn't have any of those symptoms. So kind of going back and forth hundreds of times, you just miss natural air, the air that surrounds us outdoors, especially here in Finland. And I didn't have any solution to that. I tried to open windows, I couldn't do that. I tried to adjust the air ventilation systems, I couldn't do that. So I was kind of locked inside. And I went back to the university to work on my PhD and other studies. And I met a co-founder, Niko Järvinen, who was back then doing projects related to biological water cleaning and wastewater treatment stuff. Big algae pools, for example, in Kouvola region and so on. In those biological water treatment facilities, they use microbes to treat water to be drinkable again. And we started kind of wondering that can we do the same for indoor air? Can we somehow create forest-grade air indoors using biological processes? And we bumped into NASA studies. So we Googled kind of plants purifying air and found out that plants don't purify air. That's a myth. NASA studied in the 70s and 80s how plants could be part of the air purification in space stations. And they figure out that 98% of air purification in plants happens actually in the root zone of the plants, and microbes are really efficient to breaking down or destroying and convert the pollutants from indoor air. So it's not the plants, but it's the microbes which are living in symbiosis with the plants. And we started developing this first-of-a-kind active green wall. It's an awful picture and a awful-looking product, but that was the first active green wall 9 years ago that we started working on, did some real-life tests with the real-life people. And we created this kind of cool first-of-a-kind Naava in the technical classroom of a school. And it was made of sewer pipes and whatnot. It looked awful, but it has the functionality of cycling air through biofilters and cleaning air. I'll come back to that later on. We couldn't keep the plants alive when we started using this for months and months and months. So later on, we developed software to drive the products, created fully automated products, and so on. Nowadays, these Naavas look a little bit different. They're like self-driving cars and really efficient air purifiers and humidifiers. But that was the kind of the growth story. This is I think the 4th or 5th generation of the fully revamped products. Nowadays, we are treating indoor air using microbes and the whole patented system. So we draw air through these biofilters we have created. We don't use any soil in the system. The air is kind of pushed through this inorganic growth medium where we biologically and chemically activate microbes, the wastewater treatment process, but on indoor air. Then we can humidify indoor air using the system and the watering system and the fan system. Then the air is pushed through the whole system 24/7. Everything is remotely controlled. There's an AI component optimizing your air quality and humidity from your biological needs point of view. It's a complicated system, but from the end customer point of view, you can enjoy nature in the built environment. So these are biological purifiers and humidifiers in a furniture mode. And Naava right now is about 55 people in 3 continents, 12 countries, and so on. We're the global leader in this technology of biological air purification, but also if you measure the amount of installations of green walls, so we're in that leading player in the world as well. We've raised over 10 million in VC funding, and a lot of the research and whatnot we've done are funded by kind of governmental players or players like Business Finland and European Union and so on. I'll come back to that also a bit later on. We've been privileged to work with about 700 to 800 different B2B customers. So we're offering this as a service for offices, also schools and kindergartens and whatnot. But been grateful to work with these. We've also received some kind of awards internationally, and I think as a PhD topic about building winning teams and kind of winning team culture or company culture. One of the things I'm really proud of is that we were one of the best workplaces in Finland when we kind of did that study or participated in that stuff. One of the things I'm also really proud about is the impact that we can create. Based on our customer data and the NAVA data, we know where every product is and what they are doing all the time. So there was about 75,000 people enjoying fresh air and enjoying the psychological effects of nature indoors before the Corona's time. So that was measured in February before the lockdowns. And before continuing the NAVA story, I want to highlight a couple of things what kind of helped us to create NAVA and have been a kind of a pivotal events in my life. So like I mentioned, I started with being a teacher and head of school, and then went to the dark side of economics and business creation. But I participated in this 5-year test of academia. It was called Global Venture Lab in University of Jyväskylä, which then provided business creation skills for non-business students. So as a teacher, I participated in this, which was kind of the business students couldn't take part of that. And then there were serial entrepreneurs, VCs, different kind of pragmatic people teaching growth venturing skills. By growth venturing, I mean it's a similar kind of approach that you are doing some kind of exercises, and you're trying to keep us healthy. And then there's people who are trying to get to the Olympics and doing competitive sports and so on. Similar kind of mindset idea here regarding growth venturing and entrepreneurship. I'm not saying any of these are good or bad, but those are a little bit different. So that kind of skills we started learning there. We did a lot of live cases. So we during the studies we helped Akateeminen Kirjakauppa and different companies to solve different problems from a student's point of view. Later on, I was working also there, and I went through tens and tens of cases together with my students and helping those real life case solutions. Another kind of academia touch point was that we created this globally scalable business models in health research project for 3 years, and NAVA was founded at the same time that when we were finishing this one, and this was a multidisciplinary research project together with Business Finland, Ratiofarm, Terveystalo, and a pharmacy chain in Finland, where we researched how these successful health-related companies were scaling their business and especially looking at their business model. And one of the outcomes was out from that research was the nature as a service model in B2B, like we have the NAS model in NAVA. So offering nature as a service and providing this kind of a continuing business model there. And when we started working on the NAVA stuff and the first product that you saw there, we participated in this expert panel where there was in the middle of Finland, there was an expert panel where experts kind of evaluated different ideas and inventions and so on. And I remember very vividly that we participated in that, and there was 5 people kind of that had discussed about NAVA and so on, and the outcome of that wasn't that this isn't a viable technology and this would never work. And I remember that if we're gonna show them that it's not the case. And gladly we didn't believe them. I think there might have been people who would then stop doing that. But that led us thinking that, okay, they might be also, when we were commercializing the product or selling the product, we realized that this is a disruptive innovation. So it needs a lot of scientific backing. It needs different kind of experts to understand what we are doing. And we mapped out about hundreds of different experts in health, in building in environment, air purification, and so on. And we switched our mindset in a way that we're not gonna go to them and say that this will work and believe me and trust our data or whatnot. But we switched it in a way that we approached them that based on your experience and expertise, why this wouldn't work? Why wouldn't biological air purification work? And then we learned a lot through those discussions, and almost everyone that we asked their help or opinion helped us, because we were not selling them and we were not forceful and pushing our messages. We try to understand them better. And naturally, like when we are working with disruptive innovations, you need to have backing from science, like I said. So the problem is that it costs a lot and takes time. And we at NAVA, we've been working on different publications like the Science Behind NAVA stuff you can see on the right, and then outside experts and scientists doing peer-reviewed articles in highly ranked journals like on the left side. And we've done big and small case studies and big studies and so on, looking at health and the biological air purification from our side as well. And we've been working with kind of, I would say, global reach on different universities, whether it's research, whether it's biofiltration research, human research, or it's about kind of the viability of as a green wall, the NAVA system. And we work with students, MBA students, designers, nurses, whatnot. So we've tried to get a kind of a holistic view, multidisciplinary view on these things. And academia is good because it provides an access to a lot of really, really sharp knowledge, which we have kind of used in our 9 years of history. And things like biophilia, like we are relying on the psychological effects of plants as also in the biological air purification and humidification. But the psychological effects is really strong in our NAVA approach as well. And naturally, that need to be also backed by science. And we've done a lot of work, especially on the Science Behind NAVA document. And we have, at our website, we have a lot of publications and articles regarding the health, built environment, and nature. And as a final thing, I believe that a company is just a way to express yourself, or it's a legal instrument for you to do whatever you want to do or whatever you're good at. And I think in general, the behavior towards entrepreneurship has been switching a lot. 20 years ago, when you researched 7-year-olds what they want to be, they wanted to be doctors and lawyers, and maybe the 19th thing could be an entrepreneur. Nowadays, it's in top 5 when you ask those same children at this moment of time that what they want to be. They want to be entrepreneurs. They might want to be an entrepreneur. So it's just a way to do whatever you want. NAVA's approach is that the Finnish forest air, the cleanest air in the world we have over here, is a luxury that we don't value or understand well, and that's what we at NAVA want to do. We want to export Finnish forest air to everywhere, and people can enjoy nature in the built environment where they spend the majority of their time. Thank you.
Thank you, Aki. That was great. To the audience, I would like to remind you that there is a Q&A tab on the right side of your screen where you can ask questions from the speakers. Next, we will have on stage Maija Leino. She's a CEO of UseLess company, and Maija is going to share her story about founding a carbon footprint calculation service. I think it's a good reminder to all of us during the Black Friday week as well.
True that. Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. Let's see if I can share my screen. Always exciting. Okay.
Yes, looks good.
Great. So Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm Maija, one of the co-founders of UseLess company, and here to talk today a bit on my trip from lab to market. So, what these days UseLess company is doing, we provide life cycle assessment services for other companies and organizations. And for those who are not familiar with life cycle assessment, it's exactly as Ilja explained. It's the methodology, for example, how to calculate carbon footprints. And then I like to say that we're a company with the agility of a startup and expertise of a research group as all our 6 founders, original founders. We've grown since then, but all original founders, we are from academia. So I'd say we know what we talk about when we talk about life cycle assessment. And then a bit about me more before going more on UseLess, we were asked to tell about our background, and I noticed when listening to you, Aki, that I completely there is nothing on my researcher visits or anything. It seems that my mindset has to completely switch from a researcher to something else. I don't know what, but I'm a mother of 1 baby. I have 1 middle-aged rabbit also at home. I used to be a researcher. Now I am a startup CEO and learning how to be one. And before UseLess, I was a researcher in Lappeenranta University of Technology. And they're in the Department of Sustainability Science and Sustainable Change. And that what happened about 5 years before founding UseLess. I still have a doctoral thesis topic, unfinished thesis. The topic was the environmental sustainability of additive manufacturing. So also additive manufacturing is more commonly called 3D printing. And I was studying in what application could this new manufacturing method reduce climate impact of manufacturing systems, either in the manufacturing phase with enhanced material efficiency, or they're in the use phase if we are able to create lighter structures or produce better heat conductivity, for example, in heat exchangers and things like that. So that was my research background, comparing different systems and thinking how to do things from the climate perspective. And also besides manufacturing industry, I did some research, mainly in energy systems, but also I had to do something with the food systems and housing, and this housing led more to the level of individual and a person, and how they do decisions in life and how they can be lower their carbon footprint, and that plays a big role in the birth of UseLess. But in all of this, maybe the common thread in all of this was this methodology, life cycle assessment, in my research. And then moving towards the motivation why UseLess is here. So we know that at the moment we have serious problems with the planet and how we are living and in the level of our consumption, and I can now only talk on my point of view. I think I know that many of the founders share the ideas, but now I'm talking about myself only here. But I was getting a bit frustrated that comparing how things should be done and knowing always that, okay, from the environmental perspective, this is the way to go. But of course, even though an engineer as I am would like to wish so that if this is proven to be the best way to do things, still things don't happen that way, because obviously there's the factor like money, but then also many times there are a lot of other factors than money, just the human factor. So we were in the group, we were thinking a lot often that we heard often the reason why things are not changing. It was because it's too expensive. And then at the same time, we knew from research that all environmental impacts come from consumption, and consuming less, using less shouldn't be expensive. It should in fact save you money. And if you save money, if you just save and save, at some point you end up spending it. So we were thinking that this saving and should be combined with investing. And that's how UseLess was born, 2018. We didn't really have even time to do research on this specific topic. We felt early on that this most likely isn't the research topic. It's a company idea, because we ask for a permission to test how willing people are to invest if they know that this helps the environment, if they use less and invest. But it was really difficult to get permission to do such a research in the university. So we decided that let's do this this research in a company, and that's how UseLess was founded. And use less use on useless things. That's why use less. But then 2 years in the making. At the moment, we are focusing on the B2B climate impact reduction. We see that's at the moment where we can have most impact. So we did this as a thing as known in the startup world. We did a major pivot in our business, and this is proving to be the right decision at the right time. And we tested a year ago, or I tested. We had done previously some LCA cases for other companies from our network, because they knew that in the team there is carbon footprint specialist, and that's what we tested, and we saw that there is need. In spring, everything did look a bit weak, but it looks better now in the autumn. So I really see that this pandemic has woken. Well, not woken corporates. They were awake, but if they have the capacity to do and find out the climate impact and make ways to reduce it, there's more pace in that at the moment, I'd say. So that's what we are doing now, helping others to find out their climate impact and make actionable reduction pathways. And we know that in majority of the companies, there is either lack of expertise or resources to do these things in-house. Usually the person responsible on the sustainability issues has a lot of things on her or his plate, and we want to be there to support or there isn't even a dedicated person for these issues. So we are there to help. And what we do, we help to find out the current climate impact, either the product or the company, and we get the data from the customer on their own operation, the form they have it, and then use that to produce the science-based carbon footprint on their current operations. And then we also, and this is where we want to focus in the future more, not just finding the current state, but actually helping in the reduction side. And we try to give specific reduction suggestions, not just switch to green electricity. Of course, that's impactful, but what next if you already done that? So we try to drill deeper there, and then also we noticed that our customers usually make a lot of the information on what you need to calculate a carbon footprint. It's all around the company, and we want to make sure and help the customer to have all the information in one place, and also updatable, because when the company wants to update the figures, the person who gave the numbers the previous year might even not be there anymore. So we will keep the info where you got your numbers and what assumption were made, and help along the way. and focus on the real things that matter, the reduction. So that's what UseLess is doing now. I mentioned that we were a founding team of 6 researchers. Since then, the team has grown. So we've grown to be a team that has product knowledge. So we are capable of building products and also have more understanding on the corporate and how to run businesses in our team. What's the time? Okay. Then about the funding, we have some EU funding also. We were really fortunate to be a part of a big EU project led by City of Helsinki, and that's been a big help for us in the first years. Now, and also we have some amazing business angels on board, but then also just serious bootstrapping, as I mentioned. We did some consulting right from the beginning, and now this is shifting to be our major source of revenue, this consulting, and it's great to learn from these companies at the same time as we are hopefully bringing some products also to the market soon. And I wanted to end with this figure about what entrepreneurship means to me. Last winter, maybe one day when there was snow in the southern Finland, I saw a little girl jumping in the snow, and I was even though there was like the clear road next to her, and I was thinking that at the time that felt like what entrepreneurial life was to me. So even though there is like the clean road without the snow paths where it might be a bit easier to walk, I still enjoy jumping in the snow and going up those hills. Because there are times when you are up the hill and feeling great with your team, and then there's the next hill to go up again. But that's what being an entrepreneur feels like to me, and I can also completely agree that it feels like being an entrepreneur gives you the right of doing, or is a place where you can do what you're good at and feel passionate about. That's maybe the snow pile is one way of saying that also. Yeah. So thank you. That's on my trip from lab to market.
Thank you, Maija. Awesome. I was happy to hear about the pivoting as well.
Yeah.
That's more common than people think. So as a reminder for the participants who joined later, after the next speaker, we will have an opportunity to interview and ask your questions from the participants. So please post those questions to the right side panel, Q&A panel, and there you can also vote the questions the audience has been asking. But without further ado, I would like to invite our last speaker to the stage. Our last speaker is ex-CTO of Golden Green and a professor of practice of Helsinki University, Reetta Kivelä. I'm proud to have Reetta in our event, and Reetta might have also something to tell about the relationship between not so easy academia and entrepreneurship or founding a company. Glad to have you on stage, Reetta.
Yes, thanks a lot. So yes, I was asked to have quite like my way from lab to market. So I will have a really personal story for you. And as Ilya said, so I have made my first exit already, which means that it's kind of like the black tunnel is somewhere there behind me already. So I was happy to hear how much Maija is still in the tunnel and going to see the light. What is there? It will be. And nowadays, I mean, once you have one company, you will have more. And nowadays, I just founded yesterday one and last week one, so I have 3 now. I'm quite proud of that. Let's see what is going to come. And I hope I can share my book. Yes, good. Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so I took my do you see the presentation now?
Yes.
Great. So this is the very first picture that was our marketing picture. So that's why I wanted to have this here. And when I was just going through all the slides and everything, so it was quite very nostalgic. So this was the first version of Pulled Oats. And I just wanted to start one point that I think that everyone needs to have if they want to be entrepreneurs. So it's of course about the identity and the things that, so that you can think that you are an actor and you can act and you are the problem solver. And for me, of course, I have always dreamt about own things, but like own process line and things like that already when I was a small kid. But when I was coming back, I first graduated as food chemist from Viki, and then I went to meat industry, working for 5 years. It was a small scale factory, and I was really happy to see how a factory is working. But after that, I wanted to continue to be a technologist, and I went back to university. And there, the point when I got my supervisor was giving me a test tube that is full of really high viscose solution. So it was a really thick solution. And then she added some ascorbic acid there, and all the viscosity was gone. So, and she said that no one knows what is happening there. Please solve it out. Then I just took the tube and went to the laboratory, and I was quite like wondering first half a year in the lab and just repeating the test and putting something else also and then putting something else but not that first one. And then I started to know this kind of like what is really happening and what is affecting and what is not. And then I started to study also like other fields, other research fields, publications, and I started to find that there is actually a mechanism that could explain that. And after I have like proved to myself that this is the mechanism, I wrote an article and published it. And of course, if you are a student, you have your first article, and then you go to seminars and say that, hey, this is something I have found, and this is how it goes. Of course, all the older ones and real researchers come and say that, hey, and how can you say that this is true? But I think that was the point, that I really needed to start to prove that I can be the one in this world who knows that this is true. And then I started to do the work, and I had like five of the last publications in my dissertations were about just proving that the observation and the mechanism I was claiming was true. And after that, now there is actually quite many research groups in this world who is playing with this new mechanism and these oat dietary fibers or other dietary fibers, and this is a new mechanism in food sector. So I kind of like got an experience that I can create something new and I can be an expert in some field. So instead of just writing articles and writing the necessary or proper amount of words to make the dissertation, I just wanted to solve the problem. And when in my defense, actually my opponent was saying that, did you know that you have 5 dissertations in one? And that was because I wanted to solve it. I wanted to show to the world that, hey, this is true. And from that, I started to think that I started to think everything differently, so that you don't have to take anything as taken. You can just try to go into the problems by your own way. And then I think that nothing changes without worries. There is a Finnish saying for that, which I really use a lot. But this was actually also a picture that was hanging on my supervisor's wall back then, like 10 years ago. And I was watching it every now and then I just started to think that, hey, there is all those agricultural zones that are now producing our food. they are going to be dry already in 2030, and 2030 is quite soon. But no one is talking about that. At that time, there was not really any articles in newspapers or magazines or anywhere you could really see that other people are also worried about the same thing. Because now I think that it's quite like the concern is shared somehow, because everyone is concerned about climate change and the biodiversity and those things. But at that time, it was not so many who was really like talking about climate change. And that's why I needed to go deeper and really understand, is this true? And is there something to be worried? And of course, that was like a global worry. And usually global worry is too big. So megatrends and those like two big things, they are not easy to start to solve. But at home, I had like a problem that was related to this map and this picture. So I had 3 teenagers, girls that were sporting a lot, and they wanted to be vegetarian because it was cool. They didn't so much talk about climate change, but it was cool to be vegetarian. And of course, I wanted to support that. But at the same time, I was quite busy and I was really worried how they get all the proteins and everything. So I was struggling with all the soaking of lentils and trying to manage the everyday life. So I had a need, and I had the expertise in food science, and I had this observation about the need. And also I had the value that was the global worry. But not on, like, the worry is not enough. You need to have dreams, because if we are only worrying, then we are only discussing and everything is so hard and so on. But there needs to be hope, there needs to be dreams, and these dreams can be called visions as well. So possibly my dream was something like that. Hey, possibly I could be like the actor and I could solve something with my expertise and with my observations and the needs what I have in my life, if they are more like also like a scalable needs. Of course, I had this my really personal dream as well, to have my own process line. And usually, I let me say that usually entrepreneurs want to own something, and I wanted to own. I'm really proud of the factory that I had like a few years. And also, if there is now there is the expertise, and then there are the values, and there is the observation about need, and then there is the dream or vision. But we also need interactions with other people. And here in this picture is one of the most important interaction, if thinking about why I became an entrepreneur, was that also my friend Maija was free to start something new. And she started to speak that we should have something on top of oats and on top of climate change worry and so on. And then she came up with the idea of oat meat, and that was kind of like a crystallized idea to start to study, so that we could actually have a company together. But not only like the partner, of course, the team and the partner is the most important, and those people that you can really discuss about the problem. And for example, with Maija, I think that it was quite unique from the beginning, so that Maija didn't speak the molecule language and I didn't speak the brand language, but still we wanted to understand each other and create the layers so that it can be developed for like a one concept and one product that have those both sides, like the molecules and the brand. Yeah, but what I was saying, I was just starting to say that you need also other interactions. So the observations of other people and observations of like the everyday life and your environment and everything, so that you can really find the crystal idea, what is the real need there. And of course, if you have experience, if you have already network, it speeds you up. So that there is, for example, we started at the university's facilities, and also with help of my dear supervisor. And then we, in our networks, there was business angels and bankers and lawyers and those who were really helping us not to do the most obvious mistakes in the beginning. And also, for example, patenting, I knew about that, and I knew about food processes, and I knew how the food factory is working. And if speaking about food, you need to know about legislation and regulation and so on. It helps if you have some knowledge already. So I have to say that being a middle-aged woman and founding a company is a good idea. And then I just go a little bit for concepting, and this is again like I said about the dialogue. So this was our work of or our way of working all the time. So there was this like a research-driven and design-centric thinking, talking, and having dialogue all the time. And why we think that it's very important is that there is all the time the foresight that comes from the research, so that I knew what is going on in the futures, technologies and opportunities. And then there's the insight. So what do the consumers understand right now? How should we talk about the future things to the consumers? And what is the low-hanging fruit, and what should we do in 5 years and 3 years? So especially when talking about food, there's lots of traditions, lots of emotions and habits and so on. So we can't just go there and have something like that is not understood to be as food. And that was the way how we made ideas to be innovations. And what we noticed very soon was that actually there is awareness, because sometimes you may know something. For example, I knew in my family that there is vegetarian boom, but you don't know if it's how many people or is it a big group of consumer that really have the same need. But there was these bigger trends like environmental concerns or meat production concerns. People had heard about the animal diseases, for example, and then also health concerns, people knew already then that red meat is not good for your health. And for those, of course, many other companies had known these trends as well, or these phenomena as well. And there was natural trend and local trend and all those no E-code foods and so on already going on. And this plant-based diet boom and protein boom was seen already as products. Then there was protein bars and protein powders and so on. But we noticed that actually there is a missing link in the market. There is no perfect protein. There is complete protein as protein powders, like milk protein, and then there is chicken and so on. But if we want to be sustainable, we don't have a complete protein that is not animal-based. And quite basic knowledge and traditional knowledge is that if we combine grains and legumes, then we get complete plant proteins. And that was the basic idea to start to count the recipes. What should we sorry.
Reetta, a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to have true ingredients. So in the concept, the transparency has been all the time the most important. So we didn't have any communication strategy. We just thought that we do only like right and true things, then we can just talk whatever. And of course, if speaking about food, it needs to be taste good and it needs to be easy to use and all these like nutritional things, as I already talked. And then the price needs to be so that it can be bought every day. And from that, we wanted to have a patented platform. So with the expertise I had, I just started to think that on top of these all rules that we have, how do we do it so that it's patented? And nowadays, Golden Green has almost 60 patents all over the world. And that was almost what I wanted to say. Of course, we started from home because it's about food, so you can start it or do it anywhere. But then I just wanted to go to China and to check the soya processes, and that was kind of like one key point in the story, so that we got some knowledge and some learnings in the China trip that we could combine with the old expertise that we already had. And also the testing, of course, is all the time when you are speaking about food, also in the supermarkets. And then possibly everyone knows that then started the hype and we needed to be ready for the production, because all of these retailers and wholesalers, they were just calling us and saying that they want the product right now. And this was like a March 2016. And May 2016, we had our first delivery and our first factory. So we had like three months time to build up the first process lines. And that is what I'm most is thinking about the impact. So we could be rainmakers. We could start a discussion. We could, because one product can't do anything. But if you can start a discussion and if you can get also other companies to develop products, so that is something. And now there is, I would say, over 100 products in this category that we created. Yeah, so that is what I wanted to say from the very beginning. And now Golden Green is in Europe, Asia, and USA with these. These are the main products. Thanks.
Thank you, Reetta.
Yeah, was it like 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Awesome. I really like the quote, be a rainmaker. Can I also have Aki and Maija on stage, so we are looking for the questions from the audience? Okay, if I read the questions which have been upvoted, so there has been a question: what is the first initiation to look the market opportunity with your academic projects? So what made you think of commercialization? Maybe Reetta starts, and then Maija, and then Aki.
Yeah, my project was not an academic project, so it was more like a consumer need, which I used my academic expertise to develop the product. So that was vice versa.
Okay, Maija.
Well, in our case, it was more that we think that this should at least be tested. Would people be willing to buy less things they don't need for the environment and we invest? I don't know, a bit stubbornness also. I don't know, blue eyes at the time. I don't know even what to answer here. You should see my problem statement way back in.
Yeah. What about Aki?
So the color of your eyes changed during the process. Very good. Not perhaps regarding now, but other companies that I found it. I did my master thesis on successful corporate well-being programs, and at the time I founded a company doing these health coaching services to companies and so on. So that was kind of a from research to a company and so on. I was passionate about kind of understanding better what are the most successful ones regarding that. So NAVA actually kind of didn't start from the research point of view, looking at biology or technology, but it did start from the business kind of research point of view.
Okay. Then there's a question for all the speakers. How did you find or get your first customer, and what was your experience to build up reputation in the start of your business?
Easy question.
Okay.
Maybe I can share. So, like I mentioned in the story, we created this first of a kind active green wall back then, and we tested out with real human as guinea pigs, and did it help regarding kind of air quality related symptoms and so on. Long story short, it did eventually, and then we managed to sell 20 units of 20 products before we had the actual product ready. And we used our own networks, kind of people that we knew, or like my former colleague was working in a school, and he then kind of connected us with our first customer, and the second customer was a friend of Nico's father, and so on. So a kind of close by network. And we managed to do that because we said that we don't know if the product does work or not, but we want to test it out. So this kind of humble approach was good, because if we would have kind of forcefully sold that yes, this will work and so on, I think we wouldn't be able to do those cases. And then we founded the company because we needed to invoice them, the customers. So that was the reason for that. Okay.
What about Maija?
Yeah, for the first customers for the carbon footprint business, we took a part in accelerator in Copenhagen, sponsored by Danske Bank, and it was directed to impact startups there, and we were still developing the initial idea, but one other team there needed their carbon footprint calculated because they wanted to be the most sustainable travel company, and I was like, okay, we can do it, and that's from need close by, and then on the reputation side, I noticed my view is that the scientific background gives you a jump start when talking about the credibility and the trustworthiness of the team. I think the researchers, they are even too critical on is it true what they say. So I think this is known in the corporate world, that if you have a research background, I think that's a good start for reputation.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we thought our plan was to start with the food service, and we contacted those that we knew already and started the negotiations. But then when the hype started, because of the concept of proof testing, then all those retailers were contacting us, and then we just chose that we can play with Kesko and SOK, so two of the biggest ones, and then we chose them and started with those two, and after like 1 year we measured how many no's pulled oats in Finland, and it was 97%. So I think that it was the right choice to go to the retail, because kind of like the knowledge of pulled oats was so wide. And media made that. Thanks for them.
Okay, so get into the media.
Yeah.
There's a question about co-founders. So often lab researchers end up being a solo researcher. Thus, they might not be able to find a suitable co-founder. How was your experience on this? What were your challenges in building up a team? Reetta, if you start.
Yeah, of course, building up a team is the most important thing. And usually people are saying that never found a company with your friend, but I disagree, because I think that we were very fast because we could trust each other. We didn't need to use our time to know how we are thinking, or is someone doing something that we have promised. So I think that the partner is very important. So if you have someone to share all the time and every night your nightmares, then it's I mean, for me, it was really necessary. But of course, when starting to build up the team, I feel that we just needed to take whoever was there, and we were lucky because we got really good ones.
What about Maija and Aki?
Yeah, in our founding team was we were all from the same research group, all people who have been contributing to the idea, and we acknowledged already early on that this many founders, most likely we are not there all at the end of the road, but this is the people we want to start it with because we have all contributed, and let's see where we get. And then very naturally and by accident almost, the team has grown, and it has grown with the people who had the same passion than us. There are people who even had the same idea. And then when we had also some news written about us early on, and one person read it and thought that this is what I was building when I was in my maternity leave, but never tried to make it happen. So I don't know, we were speaking about what we want to achieve, and then the people who wanted to achieve the same joined the team. That's how our team was built.
Okay.
Yeah, how many hours do we have? One of our favorite topics here. So yeah, there's a lot of myths related to kind of lone entrepreneurial heroes or entrepreneur heroes. The truth is no one can do it alone, not even close. You can start a company, a successful company by yourself, but then naturally, really, really soon you need a team of people with complementary skills and networks and know-how and way of thinking and so on. In our case, I had a problem related to health. I had a holistic understanding of health, and then really passionate about business and kind of economics, entrepreneurship. Then Nico had the biology, IT background. So when we combined, there's another kind of the combination of that skills soon became that. But naturally, during the years, we've had people, tens and tens of different people kind of strengthening the whole core idea that we had back then. And regarding kind of successful teams are never gathered; they're always built. So it's a process that, like any other process, you can fine tune it. You can do a lot of work related to that, and it's one of the key questions is kind of leadership and what kind of a company culture do you want to create. Short answer, surprisingly short. I surprised myself.
Okay. What about what's the main challenge when creating a science-based startup? Maija, you could start.
Well, what I think the main challenge, at least for me, was that researchers want to do things well and they take time to be sure, but this mindset with the startup, you have to go faster. The pace, that was the most difficult thing. I was often told that you do things too well. Like, you don't have to be that, just be faster. Yeah, that's my answer.
What about Reetta?
I think that was a good answer. So it's about the big picture and then going to the detail and then understanding where you have resources and where not. I don't say that was difficult to me because I had been working in industry as well, and the big picture is quite easy to me. But when taking like the first researchers to your team, that is something to teach first. That sometimes you just need to run. You can't go very deep. And that's sad.
What about Aki from Nava?
Well, yeah, naturally, commercialization is you can always have an innovation or a good idea that needs to be just executed, and execution is always a difficult one. I think the customer orientation might be another angle. Like if you kind of create something, whether it's a technological, like a product or a solution, what kind of it is, you fell in love with it and all the features and all the stuff. Maybe the customer just wants one small feature of that, or one or two, and you want to push 10 or 15 different features because you love the idea and you have all your creativity and your team's creativity in that. So kind of customer orientation, what do the customers actually need, and kind of customer discovery processes are really, really important in the early days. So how do you do that properly?
Okay. Then there's a question about emotional roller coaster. Have you always been 100% sure about your company's success? What issues and problems have you had to overcome? Reetta, if you may.
Oh, yeah. I mean, company success. This is not an easy. The roller coaster, yes, there is all the time the roller coaster. So there is like the horror and the delight, like in every minute. But I think that I have believed that we can make it. If speaking about pulled oats, of course, when going to the automation and really like scaling up and having tens of people in your team and so on, then of course there are nights that you are really thinking that I can't do that. But in the beginning, because it was so fast and like the consumers and the clients, they were just pulling us and pushing us and saying that, hey, this is really something we want to have. So it was easy to believe that we are doing a right thing. Yeah.
What about Maija?
Well, definitely roller coaster. I can agree with. Have I always been 100% sure? Well, definitely not, especially with the original idea. It was a huge, but now, well, I'm sure that there's a need in what we are doing, but what kind of a company we will grow to be, and what other problems around that area we will solve, and how, I don't know, but. How would I say it? I'm like a super optimistic person. I'd say, and definitely I'm not sure all the time. But then also I think that, so what? Like, if we don't succeed, then there are other things we can do either with another company or another. I don't know. I focus a lot in what we are doing now, and how well I feel in that moment doing what I care about and with who. So I don't so much think that big exits and or the light in the tunnel. I'm happy in my dark tunnel now, as Reetta said, that Maija is still at the tunnel very much so, and I'm happy being there. That's where I keep my focus in.
Okay, cool. Aki.
Well, yeah, I don't see, truthfully told, I don't see Nava being successful yet. So we have had a good start, and we are happy to bring a lot of kind of benefits to the customers and so on, and maybe some meaningful work for our employees and so on. But I don't see it as a success. And that's actually one of the kind of, when you research entrepreneurs, that it's really difficult to enjoy and celebrate the kind of the good moments, because you know that what's under the hood, and you need to solve these X and Y problems, and this eventually will kind of blow to your face and so on. And it's hard mentally to do that because naturally you should stop and celebrate the small wins, whether it's a deal you do with the customer or so on. It's hard to do that at least. But then, like Maija said, usually entrepreneurs are somehow optimistic, maybe too optimistic at some moment, because you don't have the strength if you only look at the risks and you don't take calculated risks and so on. So it's really hard to go forward. You have to be somewhat stupid on neglecting those ones.
But of course, the success is in small things. If you are watching the whole elephant, you quite never like succeed. But if you are just thinking about this patent went through, and this person is very good, and this process is working, and so on, so there's lots of succeed.
Yes.
Okay, so Reetta already started. So as a last questions, I would like to hear your kind of key takeaways or biggest learnings to share to this community. Just shortly.
There's lots of this elephant topic is one of my favorites, so possibly I go with that. So don't take the whole elephant.
Okay.
At the same time.
Yeah. What about Maija?
Well, I have to say this like the same. That's like celebrate the small wins, even though it's again the Finnish nature to kind of just be very proud of yourself, because the next day will bring something difficult. So sometimes you need to celebrate, as Aki said.
What about Aki?
Well, yeah, I think nothing ventured, nothing gained. In a way, it's a learning process where you learn a lot. If you are an entrepreneur, you learn a lot from yourself, but also if you want to be a more kind of a generalist player of people or humans, and being an entrepreneur is a great way to do that. If you don't want to learn new things, you don't want to be an entrepreneur. But that's at least drives me. I want to learn a lot of different things, and this is a good path to do that.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Reetta. Thank you, Maija, and thank you, Aki, for joining us today. Next, I'm going to tell shortly about the opportunities and the recent news in the ecosystem, and then there will be time for networking. So thank you, Reetta, Maija, and Aki.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what do we have in LUT University? There are innovation agents helping you at the different schools. Also innovation scouts in departments. So from Innovation Services website, you can find more information. Entrepreneurship education is offered by LUT Ventures program with the free online course startingup.org, and also training for researchers coming in spring 2021. All the offering of Aalto's entrepreneurship-related courses can be found from AVP's website. Professor of Practice Juha Lipponen at LUT University is also helping with bio-based scientific findings and commercializations. So Juha is the right person to contact related to those. And Aalto Startup Center is opening their incubation content to research to business teams, which I'm going to tell you a bit more shortly. Also, there is Biodesign Finland program offering initial funding and training for medical technology teams. You can contact for more information Jaakko Nieminen from Aalto. There's also a research fellow present over here, Salla Keränen. You can ask more questions from Salla related to health and medical technology. Startup Center is having open keynote tomorrow by Tatu Malmström and another health regulation keynote from Mikko Juuti and Rosa Tengvall within a few weeks. And one of our organizations also VTT Launchpad, a science startup incubator committed to develop fundable spin-off ventures from VTT's IPR. And they are constantly looking for individuals for founding a science-based startup, joining a team as an entrepreneur, or helping these teams with mentoring. And please also answer the questionnaire about this event and sign up for the future trainings waiting list. So we are in the process of developing these trainings, launched next spring. And another announcement is Counter Foundation, which is supporting research that changes the world. They have a young research entrepreneur prize nomination, and the nomination is open still for a week or more. You can find more information from Counter Foundation's website or through that QR code. Without further ado, I would like to thank all the amazing speakers as well as this community for attending this event. And we will continue events and entrepreneurship trainings in spring 2021.